to Sunday. It is actually quite late in the evening. It's 7:19 p.m., guys. And this evening I had planned on doing something a bit different. Interestingly enough, I just had an experience that I'm going to share with you. And I wanted to have an experience. I am able to really truly do this at times. It doesn't always work, and I just want to make sure that you know that. I know that there are a lot of people who talk about wanting to be able to do experiences on command. This is something that I think is very much desired. For me, I'm not always able to do an experience on command, but there are times I am able to do it. And I'm going to share this experience with you. One of the reasons why I wanted to have this experience was because I wanted to share with you my process as I go through it. At least with this particular experience, I always feel like if I share my process with you, especially those of you who are struggling to have an experience, that it will somehow assist or help you. That is really what this is all about. It's not, I think the kids in the 21st century like to say flexing. This kind of shows my age. I'm not trying to flex. Okay, it's not all really about that at all. This is really truly about me sharing an experience and trying to help you along the process. So let me go back to when I first thought of this about let's go back to about 5 p.m. in the afternoon. It was raining today. It's been raining all weekend, and I knew I was going to take advantage of the rain, in the sense of not having to turn on my iPad or listen to anything. I was just going to open my patio and just let the natural sounds relax me. This is something that I will encourage you to do, as I've done before. This is something that works, guys. It works for me. It really, truly does. Now, I understand in the 21st century, we like to have binaural beats and all these other things, but I don't think anything beats nature, real, solid nature. Listening to storm sounds, just being quiet, silence. It works, guys. It works. It's worked for me consistently. I'm just telling you. So this is an option you might want to think about. So I had the actual rain going on outside. And I was thinking to myself, okay, I'm just going to open my patio. So I opened my patio door and I laid down. I made sure I was comfortable. I laid down in bed. I laid down on my right side, guys. Again, I'm going to go back to this because I like going into specific things like this because I see this stuff on the subreddit. I see questions like this. And I've talked about this before, but I will say it again. I'm not laying flat on my bed, on my back. I'm not in the star position or something, some other position that's out there. I'm just laying on my right side, guys. That's it. Because it feels comfortable for me. And my suggestion is that you lay any way that is the most comfortable for you. That's what I always do. Now, the first time when I made the first attempt, I closed my eyes. And by the way, I fell asleep. Yes, I did. I fell asleep the first time. I think I probably woke up probably about 5:30 because I had my alarm set for 6:30, I think. So I woke up about 5:30. I looked around. I'm like, I fell asleep. So again, for those of you who fall asleep and you beat yourselves up for it, stop beating yourself up, okay? Please stop beating yourself up for falling asleep. It happens to the best of us. It happens to me. I've been doing this for 40 plus years. I fell asleep. I was like, okay. So the difference is that I didn't get frustrated and go, you know what? I give up. I'm not going to do this. I said, I'm going to try it again. Let's see. I'm going to lay down. I'm going to try it again. I laid on my right side, shut my eyes, and then I was really focusing on that visual of me pushing through space. For those of you who don't know, I have a visual in my mind that I imagine my two hands pushing through space, the space that's around me, not outer space, but the space that's around me, as if trying to push through to another reality. That is what I am doing visually in my head. So that was what I was picturing. I was picturing that in my head. I was like, okay, I'm picturing doing that. Also, I was thinking about the green comet, and I think I mentioned that in the last video, and how that may be having an impact or an effect on my experiences. And I was saying, hey, why not try it again? It's going to be here, I think, until February something or whatever. It's going to be in the vicinity. Why not try the whole green comet thing, or even thinking about it or focusing on it, which was what I was actually doing. But it has my experiences. I've been having more lately, it's been very, very interesting. So I was focused on that. I was focused on the green comet and thinking about that. And at the same time, I was focusing on my hands pushing through empty space. Okay. Now, at some point, probably about 15 minutes in, I reached that middle space, the space between being asleep and awake, the space that I do not like to call sleep paralysis, because for me, it has never been about paralysis. It has always been about movement with my mind, not my body, but with my mind. My mind takes over at that point. My consciousness takes over, and it is at that point moving around. It is not paralyzed. Okay. And that's what I take advantage of in that moment. And that's what I always encourage folks to think about. Think about the fact that your consciousness is in motion now, not your body, but your consciousness, your mind. That is the thing that's in motion. So I focused and I started to go into motion. And now this was very interesting, because once I got into motion, I stopped thinking about the comment and I started thinking about the love that I had for my mother. It was like this switch. It was as if it just came to me. I was just focused on the love. I was focused on the love that I had for my mom. That's what I focused on, guys. And so this motion I could feel lasted for quite some time. I don't think it was going too fast, but it was pretty consistent. And once the darkness lifted, I was in a version of my room in Northern California. Now, for those of you who have been with me for a while, you'll know that I grew up in Northern California, specifically in Hayward, California. I don't know if I've ever mentioned that before, but that is where I grew up. I grew up in some apartments over there, and I was in my room in an apartment in Northern California. And my room looked kind of similar. I looked out my window. This is also a very interesting thing. When I look out windows and do things like that, when I'm in other places, other realities, parallel timelines or whatever, I sometimes will have difficulty seeing things. It's very weird. It takes me a moment to focus and to be able to see outside because of weird angles. I don't know how else to say it, but I was having some difficulty. Finally, I was able to see outside, and I was able to see green hills and lights and things like that. The things I was able to see before, little grassy hills and stuff that were outside of my apartment in Tennyson before. So then I turned my attention to my wall, and on my wall there were various pictures of me as a child. But this is the interesting thing, guys. I want you to listen to this part. So these pictures were cute, were adorable. But I can tell you this, after I returned actually to this place, this reality, this 3D reality, I realized that I didn't recognize those pictures really. But when I was there, I did. And that was the interesting part. I was looking at the pictures and they were just adorable. They were so cute. They were from, with me being 5, 6, 7 years old and different little tiny outfits and doing things with different people. But the family members that I was seeing, they were different. And this was because it was a different timeline, guys. This was a whole different thing. This was a version of me that I was seeing as a little kid and things like that. And it was interesting because if you're wondering, you may be wondering, wow, did you have the memories of this version of you as you were looking at the pictures? I wouldn't say that it felt like I could see actual memories. There was just this sense of being familiar with what I was seeing. That is the best possible way I can explain it to you guys. It was like I'm looking at these pictures and I'm familiar with them. And it's like some aspect of me is just like smiling. It's like, oh, wow, that's so cute. But it was like there were two things about this. The first part of it was looking and being familiar and thinking, wow, these are wonderful, beautiful pictures, and this was really cute. And the other part was, it was almost as if someone was showing you pictures of their kids or whatever on your phone, and you're just like, oh, that's so cute. So there was two different things. It was like, it wasn't me and I'm looking at this cute kid, but then it was me and I was familiar with it. So I was kind of divided a little bit. So the first thing I did after I looked at the pictures was I went out and I went to my mom's room, and I'm calling to my mom. My mom's looking in her mirror. She's getting dressed, and I'm calling to my mom, and I'm like, Mom. And as I was saying this to her, she was talking about, I think, visiting uncles or whatever. I think we were going on some kind of trip to maybe visit them, and she was getting ready for that. Let me mention here, side note, I didn't recognize the names that she was saying. Again, different timeline, different names. It was very, very strange. But I told her, which I think was probably a mistake, I said, by the way, Mom, I'm from a different timeline. I'm telling her this, and I'm telling her that I came all this way because I just wanted to tell you that I loved you and all these other things. Even though she knows this, and I'm not exactly sure why I wanted to go to this other version of her and tell her that. I mean, I think just because the love was in my heart, and so I just wanted to express that to her. And so, she's just staring at me at this point, just kind of like, I think she was probably confused about what was going on. And so eventually I ended up leaving the room, and I realized that maybe I had perhaps said a little too much. So I decided to return at that point. So I came back. I returned back to this reality, and I wanted to share this experience this Sunday. So I opened my eyes and I'm just like, okay, I am going to share my experience with you guys and let you know, hey, this was what my process was. This was what happened. This is what I did. I hope maybe it will help you out in some way. Maybe you will be able to use something that I told you about this evening. Thank you so much for coming on this Sunday journey with me. And until next time, take care.